Are you a baby boomer, right in that 60 to 80-year-old range? Well, you are in luck because that's who I specialize in working with as a real estate broker. I have very unique tools, temperament, and resources to meet your needs in this season of your life. I'm a big believer in the seasons of life, and if you're looking to buy or sell property in this season of your life, I'd love to be a resource for you. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Buying or selling real estate is a huge deal. It's tons of work and there's lots of moving parts, but especially when you're a little bit more of an older, seasoned age or wise age, I would say, it is a season of your life where it can feel exceptionally overwhelming. People can feel very vulnerable and fearful about kind of the next season and what's coming up in their life, and they can not know what to do or how to negotiate all of that. So my goal in business is to be super tender, very relational, very genuine. I'm the real article with people, so I want to hear your needs, get to know you very specifically and personally, and understand what your priorities and needs and goals are in a transaction so I can make things as low stress and as seamless as possible moving forward in this process, whether you're downsizing, whether you're going to, from a large property into a smaller property, or whether you are moving or transitioning into an assisted living or a retirement community, whether you're moving, to or from Colorado and getting closer to your kids, or whether they're moving to you. These are all things that I specialize in, working with all those moving parts to make it as stress-free as possible. There are unique fears, concerns, and kind of trepidation that older people have when buying or selling property. And the older I get, I'm not a young, spry guy anymore as much, and I'm feeling that my age as well. And so as I empathize and come closer to people who are your age in that, I'm just very tender and empathetic and just very sensitive to the needs that you have. And so I've developed a business model and additional resources as far as bringing things to the table that makes things even less stressful and even more smooth coming into that process. And for some people, this process isn't just about you. There's lots of moving parts as far as family, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, which some of my clients have, and moving closer or moving those people toward you in order to draw a family together in this season of your life can be a really big deal. And so I can work with your family as well to make that as smooth as possible. Aging in place is a big deal these days, and people are all about generally being more independent than less independent and not going into a home or retirement assisted living community unless they need to at some point. So most of us like our independence. I do as well. Everybody does. And so I want to honor that and honor you by helping you age in place, even if that means downsizing to a property. Often that means a property with less or no stairs, ground and grade level entryways and exits and egress, wider doorways and more ADA, type of compliant building standards as far as wider doorways for wheelchairs and walkers and things like that. So I have the ability, connections, and unique ways of finding properties that are more compatible to different seasons of people's lives. Many real estate brokers are high speed, low drag, and just to be totally honest, they're not very interested in people's personal lives or needs or emotions, and they can't slow down enough to actually connect with them, and that's what I love doing. So asking very specific questions and getting to know you on a personal level, not to be invasive, but as much as you're comfortable, getting to know you, your situation, and what you're trying to accomplish so I can serve you exceptionally well and really take the time to get to know your individual needs. And along with that, agents that move super fast and don't have that individual touch, there's a lot of fear and vulnerability perceived as far as, hey, does this broker have my best interest in mind? And some, unfortunately, can take advantage of people who are feeling super fragile and vulnerable, and they're apprehensive moving into a situation like this. So again, I take the time to not be that guy. I'm super intentional in my communication and slowing down to make sure I advocate well for you, honor you, honor your space, and honor your belongings. Often downsizing is a huge component. We're Americans. We all have lots of stuff and garages full of stuff, and it can feel super overwhelming and disconcerting as far as getting rid of things, and even emotional draw there as far as stuff that has sentimental value that's very important to you. So I'm all about honoring that, seeing you in that situation, and helping you discover what is best in your best interest as far as downsizing and transitioning. All of us have some fear of the unknown when we're going into a season or time of our lives where we haven't experienced, and none of us have experienced this life before, and so we're all sort of going into unknown all the time. I get that, I'm with you in that, and so it's all about being super attentive and empathetic and tender with that, and taking the time in order to go into that with you, be with you in it, and consider those things so we can maximize the data and information and options that you have in order to then reduce the stress of the unknown. We basically want to minimize the number of unknowns. We can't eliminate all the unknowns, but we can minimize the things that are feeling most stressful and causing you most concern. Financial concerns are the next item I wanted to address. And a lot of people who are in your season of life have fixed incomes. And so sustainability, as far as where am I going to move and how am I going to make that sustainable for me, is a huge deal. So we can dive into those details and make sure this is a sustainable move for you. We want to do the right thing for you, not necessarily the fast thing. I have the ability to move with incredible velocity if you need to do something quickly, but most people that are in your season of life are not needing or even wanting to move quickly. They want to move calculated, they're pensive, they want to be very careful and intentional in what they do and don't do because they don't want to do this transition multiple times. Nobody likes moving, so we want to do this once and do it well for you to usher you with the least amount of stress into this move in this next season of your life. Technology can also be a barrier to people, and it can feel overwhelming and confusing. Reference technological real estate resources and online internet search tools and that type of thing. One benefit with me as far as being super relational is I strongly prefer to meet you in person. So I will come to you, making it easy for you and as easy as possible, and explain things, go over things. We can do things by paper if needed, and we do some documentation and stuff like that as far as listing agreements that are paperless, but I can join you with that and we can work together so that feels less overwhelming and less stressful as well. Reference paperwork, documentation, online marketing, and all the things that I handle for you so you don't have to. The older I get, the more simple I want my life. That is more and more true for me all the time, and that's generally what my clients want as well. We want less stuff, we want more simplicity, we want to be nimble, we want to be ambulatory, and we want to be able to function well with less stuff to worry about on into our life. So again, it's all about honoring your needs in that and making sure I can bring tools and resources in order for you to downsize in a way that's best for you and in your best interest, according to your own priorities. Many folks in your season are also interested in moving into communities where they don't have to do yard work and they do have to do less maintenance as far as exterior building maintenance and getting on ladders, all that type of stuff that can be unsafe and can carry some risk. And so I specialize also in finding condos, townhomes are a common request where common areas and landscaping and building maintenance is taken care of, so you don't have to take care of those things and they're handled for you. My real estate services are full service and I bring tools and resources and contractors to play. So some of my clients actually just want to walk out of their house, leave it to me, and I can handle everything for them, and that's included in my services to you. So it can be as turnkey as you want, and turnkey in the sense of on your way out the door, you can turn the key. I had a client that just moved out of state. They just left their house, left it to me to prepare and help hire contractors in order to take care of some refresh painting and yard work and fence staining and a few different things that they needed taken care of. I handled all of that for them. They got on a plane, flew out of state, and I sold their house for top dollar for them when they were out of state, and they even signed in that state seamlessly, so they didn't have to return to Colorado to even sign on the sale of their house. So I can handle it seamlessly, as much as you want or as little involvement as you want. I'm happy to do that for you and with you. Whether you're downsizing or transitioning to a different place in Colorado, or whether you're moving out of state or around the world, wherever you're going in the next season of your life, I'm happy to be a resource as well. I have an incredible network of realtors who are super relational and high integrity, just like I roll, and I'm happy to connect you with them. There's no pressure in that way, but it's all about being a resource for me. So if you're feeling overwhelmed about where you're going or need resources and data and information in order to make a decision for what's the best location for you to move to, a lot of people don't like the cold winters in Colorado and they're ready for somewhere warmer. I'm also a licensed real estate agent in Florida, where I have investment properties, and my wife and I actually run a company managing vacation rentals in Florida. But I work throughout the state of Florida, and a lot of my clients come from Colorado and head south and or toward Florida to just get warmer throughout the year rather than be in cold Colorado. So lots of resources as my point. Wherever you're headed, I'm happy to bring those resources and help you make decisions in order to see about where you're going from here. If you're selling a property, it's partly my job to make sure it is, staged, whether that's staged with your belongings, whether we bring in outside stagers to make sure that property presents well in the market, and I handle all of that marketing for you. So I have a drone myself. I do drone shots as far as the overall aerial view of the property, as well as all the photos, and all the marketing for the property is all handled by me. So you don't need to worry about any of that. This can be a bittersweet process, and many of my clients in your season of life have been in their home for decades, if not many years, right? 50, 60 years in a house, and it's emotional and difficult. It's a big deal to move on to this next season of your life. And so again, I am very intentional about joining my clients in and with them and honoring them in that, and not being cavalier or like a bull in a china shop. I'm super down to earth, and I appreciate just raw and real communication. I use words that I can understand, that you can understand, and I'm very straightforward in communication. I'm also very proactive in communicating with clients. A lot of brokers aren't in touch so much. They're in touch throughout the sales process, and then you hire them and you never hear from them, and you're wondering what's happening, and you're wondering what the status of what's going on in the moving parts. So I'm not that guy. I'm actually incredibly intentional in connecting with clients, and I will reach out as much as you want me to. Sometimes it can be a little even much for clients, and they tell me to reach out less, and that's okay as well. But the bottom line is I want to default for that, if anything, rather than being not in touch. I don't ever want people wondering about what's happening or feeling like they're left in the lurch. My personalized and boutique approach as a solo agent who you work with directly. You don't sign up with me to work with you and then get shuffled off to team members or other employees. I have an admin and transaction coordinator that helps me with the logistics of the process, but you're dealing with me personally throughout the transaction, and I want relationship with you specifically. That's my entire business model. And this isn't just a transaction. This is a transition, and a major transition in most people's lives. While you're in control of this process, if we're listing your house for sale, I don't inform you of what we're going to list it for. I provide data and information so you can make the best decision for yourself based on your own priorities of how fast you want this property to sell. There's a direct correlation between where you price it in general and how fast it's going to sell. I can generally get you multiple percentage more by how I communicate, my proactiveness and negotiation, my good faith with other brokers as we bring buyers forward for your property. And then you and I and we will go over those offers together and analyze those deals, which isn't always just about price. Sometimes there's other flexibility or timing or moving parts or components. Reference the time depending on where you're going and what you're doing. We may have another offer that is more flexible with that timing or lends better to your situation and meeting your needs. That's not just about the price of the property. Of course, we want top dollar for your property, but there's lots of more components than just price, is what I'm trying to say. I want to provide clear expectations up front in how I'm going to serve you, as well as explanations for the paperwork that we're going to go through. There's a lot of paperwork for selling and conveying property in Colorado, as well as purchasing property. There's a lot to that, and I'm happy to take the time to sit down with you and go over that and explain and help interpret things that aren't clear to you. Again, this is your offer that I'm drawing up for you. It's your listing agreement that I'm preparing for you. These aren't my documents technically. They're your documents that I'm helping as your facilitator to facilitate this process, and serving you as your fiduciary in Colorado. Technically, that's my role, which is the highest level of advocacy and confidentiality to serve your best interest in this transaction according to your needs. We also want to minimize the chance of surprises throughout this process. Generally, nobody likes surprises, and we don't want things to come as a surprise throughout this process, so I'm very careful and strategic with you to plan up front and forecast ahead of time. Again, by understanding your needs, goals, desires, your priorities, we want to develop a plan and a strategy up front in order to get you where we want you to go before we put your house on the market. The last thing we want to do is to list your house and do it too quickly without having everything else in line, and you end up homeless, technically, in the meantime. When you've sold a property and you haven't acquired your new property yet, or wherever you're going, we don't ever want you in that position, and it's explicitly my job to advocate for you in that, so you don't end up with a lag and nowhere to go in between housing options. Healthcare, grocery stores, social activities, all those things are very important as well, as we want to stay engaged and relational in our lives in general. So I can help you as we search for property in the next season transition for you. We can make sure that you stay well connected with the resources that you need within reach. Walkability, if you're ambulatory, and accessibility are huge issues, as well as safety. I'm a retired police officer. I'm very keen to crime statistics and can point you toward great resources as well to make sure that you're in a place that is safe. My name is Leif Jacobson, and often people think it's Leif is how you pronounce my name. So by default, and kind of as a silly adage, my brand became Safe Leif, because I have a safety background and I'm safe to do business with in all the ways that I'm describing to you. And that worked so well that I decided to make it my entire brand. So safety is a massive concern for me, and at the top of my mind, reference a priority to make sure that you are squared away in a safe and secure position where you're moving to, generally downsizing from a house. This is an exciting process, an exciting transition for you, and I treat it that way. It can feel overwhelming and it can feel scary, but we don't have to revel in that, and we can acknowledge that and be honest that it can feel overwhelming and a little fearful as far as the situation, but I'm also have a positive attitude and a positive outlook. I see this as an adventure and something I'm coming alongside you and serving you in the next season as we transition your life. I want to make sure that you and your voice are heard, as well as your family members if they weigh in, if you have kids and or extended family that have power of attorney, if there's other components there. I want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard and everyone's priorities are met. We will create a step-by-step plan together. I'll bring you through the typical strategies and steps that I take to make this as smooth as possible as far as this transition. I can't overstate that enough, I don't think, for people who are in your position in your life. So I want to make that very clear. You are not alone in this process, and I want to join you in it. I want to make people feel seen, heard, and understood. I think those are universal human principles that we need actually at any age, not just at your age. And it's my goal to operate with every client in that way so everyone feels and perceives those. It costs you nothing, there's no pressure, and there's never any obligation in order to meet with me. So I would love to have you reach out at the number below. Feel free to text if you do that. You're welcome to pick up the phone and call. It's rare for people to do that so much anymore who get used to texting all the time. Or if you're an email user, you can certainly email me. All of my information is down below in the description. And I'd love to have you look up my information and reach out to me so I can respond to you quickly and connect with you in person very soon. I want to guide you and support you in every sense of the word and connect with you on a very genuine and authentic level. I'm grateful for you taking the time to watch this video. Thanks for seeing me and allowing me the opportunity to see you by reaching out. I look forward to talking with you. I'm standing by for your text, phone call, or email. Talk to you soon.